Emily never thought her life would change so much in just a few years. There was a time when she believed she had everything she could ever want. She was married to David Brooks, a successful millionaire, who seemed to love her more than anything in the world. They had met years earlier at an event in Chicago. David was still building his business at the time. He was hardworking, ambitious, and full of dreams. Emily admired his determination, and David often said he could not have achieved his goals without her support. As the years passed, David's company grew bigger. His success brought him money, fame, and influence. Soon, people everywhere knew his name. Expensive cars, luxury homes, and exclusive parties became part of his daily life. At first, Emily was happy for him. She believed they were enjoying the rewards of their hard work together. But slowly, things began to change. David started spending less time at home. Business meetings became more important than family dinners. Weekend trips became longer. Phone calls became shorter. The man who once shared every detail of his day now seemed distant. Emily tried to ignore the warning signs. She told herself that success came with responsibilities. She wanted to trust her husband. Then the rumors started. Friends quietly mentioned seeing David with another woman. Photos appeared online showing him attending events with a young woman named Chloe. Every time Emily asked him about it, David denied everything. But one evening, the truth became impossible to ignore. Emily found messages on David's phone. The conversations left no room for doubt. David had been seeing Chloe behind her back for months. Her heart broke. The arguments that followed were painful. Trust had disappeared. Love was replaced by anger and disappointment. Eventually, their marriage ended in divorce. After the separation, Emily moved back to San Diego to spend time with her parents, Robert and Susan. They helped her through the darkest days of her life. Meanwhile, David seemed happier than ever. Newspapers and social media constantly showed him traveling with Chloe. One week they were at a luxury resort. The next, they were planning another trip to Miami. Emily stopped looking at the photos. She focused on rebuilding her life instead. She found work helping organize charity events. The work gave her purpose and helped her meet people who cared about making a difference. That was when she met Daniel. Daniel was the CEO of a successful company. But unlike many wealthy men Emily had known, he was kind and respectful. He listened when she spoke. He valued her ideas. Most importantly, he never made her feel small. Over the next few months, they worked together on several charity projects. A friendship slowly grew between them. One evening, after a successful fundraiser, Daniel invited Emily to dinner at a famous restaurant called the Crystal Room. Emily hesitated at first, but eventually agreed. She had no idea that the dinner would place her face to face with the man who had once broken her heart. And she certainly did not know that David Brooks would walk into that same restaurant with Chloe on his arm. The Crystal Room was filled with soft music, sparkling lights, and the quiet conversations of wealthy guests enjoying their evening. David walked inside with Chloe beside him. As usual, he enjoyed the attention that came with being a millionaire. People noticed him wherever he went, and tonight was no different. After being shown to their table, David looked around the restaurant while Chloe admired the elegant surroundings. Then everything changed. His eyes landed on a familiar face, Emily. For a moment, he thought he was mistaken, but there she was, sitting only a short distance away. She looked confident, happy, and completely relaxed. What surprised him even more was the man sitting across from her, Daniel. David recognized him immediately. Daniel was a successful CEO known throughout Chicago. Many business leaders respected him. David felt an uncomfortable knot form in his stomach. Chloe noticed the change in his expression. "What's wrong?" she asked. David nodded toward Emily's table. Chloe followed his gaze and smiled slightly. "That's your ex-wife, isn't it?" David did not answer right away. He couldn't stop looking. Emily was laughing at something Daniel had said. The smile on her face was genuine. It was the kind of smile David had not seen in a very long time. For reasons he could not explain, the sight bothered him. After a few minutes, he stood from his chair. "Well, I'm going to say hello," he said. Chloe looked amused. "Have fun," she replied. David walked toward Emily's table. When Emily looked up and saw him, she seemed surprised, but only for a second. "David," she said calmly. "Emily," he replied. Daniel stood and politely shook David's hand. The three exchanged a few polite words. Daniel spoke warmly about the charity projects he and Emily had been working on. Emily listened with a smile. David noticed something important. She was not nervous. She was not angry. She was not trying to impress him. In fact, she seemed completely comfortable. As the conversation continued, David realized that Emily was no longer the heartbroken woman he had left behind. She had built a new life, a better life. The painful part was that she had done it without him. Soon, David excused himself and returned to his table. Chloe immediately asked questions, but he barely heard her. His attention remained fixed on Emily. The rest of the evening passed slowly. He watched Daniel treat Emily with kindness and respect. He watched Emily laugh freely. He watched her enjoy herself without once looking in his direction. For the first time since the divorce, David understood what he had lost. Money had given him luxury. Success had given him status, but neither had given him the peace that Emily seemed to have found. When Emily and Daniel finally stood to leave, Daniel gently helped her with her coat. Together, they walked toward the exit. Emily never looked back. And as David Brooks watched Emily smile across the table, completely untouched by his presence, a truth he had spent years avoiding finally caught up with him. Because the woman he thought he had left behind was no longer waiting for an apology, and the life he believed would fall apart without him had become something far greater than he ever imagined.